Hey guys, I wanted to talk to you about these two knives. Now, I have reviewed the Wenger Ranger 78 a while ago, and if you want to know my thoughts about it, you can just go and watch that video. And this is the Victorinox Ranger Grip 79. I won this in a giveaway. Felix sent me his book and this knife, and I forgot about the knife. And when it got to me, I was really happy because I always wanted to see what the Victorinox version of the Wenger Ranger is. Now, they are different in the sense that this one has the Phillips head screwdriver and this one has the corkscrew. The awl shape is different, and the Victorinox model has the toothpick and the tweezers. But the rest of the tools are comparable. Now, the can opener, I don't know if I prefer this version or this version. I was very much in love with the Victorinox can opener until I really needed this one. I dug out a chip out of my axe. It got stuck in a piece of wood, and I had this with me. If I didn't have this, I would have probably needed to use something else and maybe bend the tip. This did get bent, but it did not break, and I kind of fell in love with this little tool. Well, back to the knives. Now, the biggest difference is the grip. This one is a bit thinner, and you can see it has these rubber inserts, which make it very comfortable. I don't know how to explain this, but when you get this in your hand, even if it's cold and your hands are dry, it doesn't want to slip out, and that's why they called it the Ranger grip, I guess. This checkering pattern does do very well. And the feel of the plastic is a bit different. That's just my opinion. It does sit very well in your hand, but mainly because you have this checkering up here. And you get grip with your index finger. But the rest, well, the tools and the edges will give you grip. For this one, I feel that the profile is much better, much more ergonomic, and all your fingers are resting more or less on the rubber. So it just feels better in hand. I'm not sure if it's not also the fact that it's a bit thinner. Maybe you can see it. It's a hair thinner, although this one is also a bit heavier. Now, there is also another difference, and that is the locking mechanism. It's the same type of locking mechanism where, let me just show it on one knife. You push the sign here, the Wenger sign in this case, the logo, and a small button there moves the liner lock out of the way so you can close the blade. With the Wenger, there was something that I liked very much. The fact that the blade does not snap down. For some other models, it does, and that's why in all Victorinox user manuals, they call this the danger zone. But right now I can hold my finger down here and let the blade go down, and it's resting on my finger now, but it's not cutting me. I think that is good, that is safe. You should, of course, never hold your fingers here, but just in case it happens, it won't snap down and give you a nasty cut. Something that I have come to terms with when working with a Victorinox knife is that even though they have a locking mechanism, either this one or the one that the rucksack has with a little tab you have to pull down, or the liner lock like with the Forester and I think Trail Hiker, they all have a bit of blade play. And some people call this acceptable blade play. It does not bother very much, and it mainly comes because there's a small space between the blade and the lock, the liner lock, or this little tab that comes here because it's not actually the liner. And it hits on it. So there is a bit of blade play, forward, backward. It does not bother me, and very few people who use Victorinox knives have ever complained about this. But it's something that's there. Now, with the Ranger grip, I don't know if you could hear it, there's a ladder snap there, and you don't have that. Now, the blade does move the liner lock a bit, So you have some movement. However, it's sort of like with a lockback knife. When you cut something, and because you're pushing on the blade pushes on the lockback, and you can feel it move it in your hand. It's the same thing. Some people don't like lockback knives because of that. I used to be one of them until I got to my Enduro. But I think this is very well made. And because it sits so well, because the grip is there, it just feels much, much better. Much improved version of this knife. Now I like them both, but I think I like this one better. I was very curious to see if with the Victorinox models they would take the edge down towards the handle, and they don't. Now some people said that they prefer this because they like choking up on the knife. I'm not one of those people. I do not want to choke up on this knife, although I may do it instinctively. What happens there, whenever I make feather sticks, I do tend to scrape my hand on the wood. So that's why I sharpened this blade closer to the handle, and because I use it unlike a fixed blade, I have not scraped my hand on wood while working with this one. I didn't get around to modifying this. I mainly use it for cooking and around the house. I did carry it with me for a while, and it's a fun knife. I think this is a great addition to your kit, whether you're just going hiking and you want to take a walking stick, or I don't know, spend a few days at a camp. Now, this saw is definitely the star of the show. It was with my Wenger, and it is with the Victorinox. It is very large considering the space that this tool will take in your pocket, and it'll do an excellent job. Whenever you have to cut a walking stick or get just a piece of very hard dry wood out of a bunch of hazel, and you don't want to hurt the other trees, having a saw of this size makes things very quick and very clean. So I definitely like the saw, but you can also really benefit from such a thin blade. I like the grind, and Victorinox is one of the companies where whenever you buy a knife, you can just take it out of the box and put it in your pocket and do whatever it is you want to do with it. Now, some may not be razor sharp, but they have working edges on it, which really does make a difference. Another thing that I've noticed is the locking mechanism. Now, for the Ranger, you have to depress the button and then you can just close the blade very easily. For this one, you have to really push the button all the way and then close the blade. And if you keep the button pushed, it'll stop right here. See that? So you have to release the button and then close it. This one closes a bit faster than the Wenger. You can see it closes by itself, but it doesn't have that snap that my other Victorinox knives have. So it'll snap down, but very gently. So this might give you a cut if you hold your fingers in the danger zone, something that you should never do. And I do like the way they call this the danger zone. But I think it's an improvement over the other Victorinox models. Some of them really have a powerful snap, especially the ones with no lock, because they do have to have a stronger back spring here just to keep the blade open. But I all around like it. And I'm just going to show you inside here, and maybe you can see it. You have two buttons, the white one, and there's a black one here. And this is actually the one that'll stop the blade from closing. I thought about this, and to be honest, I don't know exactly what this was made for. I'm thinking that you might use this with gloves, and something might get jammed in between your hand and the button lock, a piece of wood, and if you really squeeze it, you might depress the button. So if you push in a stabbing motion a piece of wood and try to make a hole, it might close. But if you keep it pushed, it will stop almost halfway through. So especially if you're wearing something like thick leather gloves, it may just cut your glove. It won't cut you all the way. if you're not wearing gloves, you will feel if something gets between your hand and the knife. I actually tried to replicate that. It didn't work. And I appreciate the fact that it didn't work. I appreciate the fact that you have to push this button all the way down in order for you to close the blade and then release the button. Because usually when you open a folder, you would like it to stay opened, not close accidentally. Overall, I like it. Now, I like both models. Very, very cool knives from Victorinox. I would choose this one because the way it feels in hand. The rubber inlays really do make a huge difference. Personally, I would not choose this one with the hole in here. Main reason is whenever I use the saw, this bothers me. And I open Victorinox knives two-handed anyways, so I don't really need it. But I can see how some people really prefer a one-hand opening Victorinox knife, so it comes down to personal preference, as does everything else. I hope you enjoyed this little presentation. I'm not going to do a test of the knife. I will probably just use it, but it's basically going to perform, I'm imagining, just like the Wenger, only maybe with better grip. But like I said, which one would I choose? I would go with the Victorinox. But that is, of course, because I also like the color combination. Red and black usually save Victorinox, mainly the red. So I hope you liked the video. If you have any question about either of these knives, just post them in the comment section. I'll get to them as soon as possible. I'd like to thank you for watching, and as always, I wish you all a great day.